What's going on, everyone? So let's talk about Paul George and the Los Angeles Lakers and kind of get that out the way. Because I see a lot of people and I get a lot of comments and a lot of questions, people asking me, do I want Paul George? Should the Lakers go and sign Paul George? What should the Lakers do about Paul George? So let's get into it. Let's have this discussion, get it out the way. I'm sure there'll be some news at some point linking to Paul George, but this kind of give you everything you need to know in regards to Paul George and the Lakers. So just to get the is it going to happen? Is it not out of the way? No, it's more likely than not going to happen. Now, could it? Is there always a small chance or percent? Of course, right? Nothing's 100% in today's NBA. Maybe Paul George really wants to go to Lakers, right? But there's a couple reasons why I just don't see it happening. One, which is the biggest, is the Lakers, the only way to acquire Paul George would be via trade, which means he would have to basically stick around, work out some deal, opt in, go get traded to the Lakers. Lakers would have to match his like $43 million or whatever it is, right? It's just, I don't think the Lakers are going to do that for Paul George with his age, his injury history, stuff like that. I think the Lakers are looking, if they are going to land a star, they're going to land more of a future star, somebody like a Trae Young, somebody like, maybe a Brandon Ingram. You see him linked to the Lakers. Donovan Mitchell, obviously, would be a great and is my choice for candidate. They're going to get somebody that they could see, okay, even after LeBron leaves, could stick around. Him and Anthony Davis could be a great pairing going forward. Paul George doesn't really fit that criteria. Paul George probably's only got another 3 years, if that. And the other thing is the Clippers, are they going to be willing to trade Paul George to the Lakers? Because they would have to do that. They would have to facilitate that. Now, they could look at it and go, well, okay, I'm going to go leave and go sign with Philadelphia, and you're going to get nothing. Or you could trade me to the Lakers and get something, right? But then at that point, right, now you're kind of running on Steve Ballmer. Does he just go, I'd rather lose Paul George than help the Lakers? We're about to get in a brand new stadium. We've always been in the Lakers' shadow. I'm not looking to help the Lakers. If I trade him Paul George, what if they win a championship? Like, there's a lot of things that Steve Ballmer and the Clippers are going to take into account if that's going to be the case. Steve Ballmer doesn't really care. I think he's one of those few owners that I think would go, just let him walk. Let him go, right? We'll figure it out, right? I'd rather that than him going to Lakers. So that's where the dilemma lies. Because it's just, there's so many factors that would take place to get over the hump for him to then be a Laker. Now, as far as fit goes, right? Yeah, he's ideal. He makes a world of sense, right? Again, let's remove the injury history because that's a real problem, is the injury concerns. But let's remove that from the conversation, right? Let's say he plays, 65 games and he's good for the playoffs, right? Now, a lot of people have the concerns, playoff P and pandemic P, and he can completely disappear at times and all this stuff. And what has Paul George ever won? What has he ever done? Paul George is one of, to this day, the best two-way guys in the league. He's an excellent difficulty shot maker. He's an absolute bucket when he wants it. He's still absolute lockdown and clamps. He's got great size and versatility. He's everything we need and then some out on the wing, defending and switching out on the perimeter. I mean, it'd be ridiculous. You could put him at the 2 if you wanted to, right? Imagine let's say you even keep D'Lo. Imagine D'Lo, Paul George, Jared Vanderbilt, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. Or Gabe Vincent, right? Now you got your point of attack guard. You got Paul George. You can play the 2 through 4 if you need him to, but you could slot him in at the 2 so Jared Vanderbilt could play the 3. LeBron James and Anthony Davis, you got size, you got versatility, you got defense, you got switchability, you got everything you need, right? It makes a world of sense, right? Also, a lot of his disappearing acts and ailments, especially come playoffs, are because he's not a number one guy. He's not, right? Saw that in Indiana. You've seen that here with the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard was supposed to be the number one guy. Kawhi Leonard doesn't show up. Kawhi Leonard can't stay healthy. Every time the Clippers get into the playoffs, who's not healthy? Kawhi Leonard, right? So now Paul George has to step up and play a role in which he's not that guy. But alongside LeBron James and Anthony Davis, he doesn't have to be that guy. Alongside those two, he just needs to play defense and hit the occasional shot, right? On any given night, he could be that number 2 guy behind Anthony Davis, right? And LeBron be the number 3 guy. LeBron's never going to really be the number 3 guy, but LeBron can kind of pick and choose his spots while Paul George and Anthony Davis goes to town. And Paul George would always be the number 2 guy behind Anthony Davis, right? So there's not as much pressure on Paul George. He's not asked to do as much on the offensive side of things. And he gets to play the role that he is best at, just going and being a bucket getter, get to your spots. And more times than not, he's going to get the second, third defensive assignment, right? Like, he's not going to be somebody that, like, teams are going to be so worried about Anthony Davis in the interior and on the block, LeBron James getting ahead of steam or down low on the block. And now you're going to have to worry about Paul George out on the perimeter doing his thing, or him even posting up down on the block. Like, it's so many things to handle. And it's 3 pieces that would fit and make sense as a glove. If you told me tomorrow the Lakers sign Paul George, sign me up. Like, if the Lakers had $30 million in cap space and they used it to sign Paul George, I would be happy. Like, if they said, hey, we're signing Paul George and we're giving him a contract as long as LeBron, like, you basically have all 3 for 3 years, I would be okay with that. Sign me up. Problem is, realistically, it's not going to happen because there's so many dominoes and so many factors that are against the Lakers that it wouldn't happen. And I also don't think the Lakers would pursue that necessarily. Now, if they could get him for essentially a bag of peanuts, like, let's say the Clippers would be willing, right? Like, let's say Paul George goes to the Clippers and says, hey, look, I'm not going to sign a new contract with you. I'm either going to sign with Philly outright and you're going to lose me for nothing, or trade me to the Lakers and get what you can, right? And the Clippers call us up and they're like, hey, no, we want Rui, Reeves, and a first and a pick swap. Then I think the Lakers might do it, because they might be like, oh, okay, we could unload these guys, go get Paul George. We'd still have, a pick, a swap, and, like 5 seconds to go do something else. Maybe can we work it out to go get like a DeJounte Murray or something like that? And like, now we got this like stacked team that can maybe go win a championship in the next 3 years. Sure. Right? Like, we can kind of prolong. And then once we get, like, if we win this chip, post LeBron, we'll kind of figure it out, right? If something like that were to happen, then sure, I could see the Lakers doing that. Realistically, it's probably not going to happen, right? I see a lot of people that want Paul George, like the idea of Paul George. Paul George has always wanted to be a Laker. He's talked about it, but he had his chance and he blew it. He did. He'd be a champion right now if he just got out of his feelings. But he got all hurt and upset because the Lakers didn't trade for him, which made no sense at the time. Zero. The whole point was that Paul George was going to be a free agent, right? So Lakers had the cap space to sign him outright. Why would they go and trade all these assets to go and get him when they could just sign him, either keep those assets and build some crazy team, or use those assets to, I don't know, maybe get an Anthony Davis? But he got all in his feelings and all upset and all hurt that they didn't trade for him. So then he sticks around with the Thunder, and it's just like, dude, literally, you would have had it made. You would have had it made. It would have been you, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James. You probably would have won multiple championships right now because he was healthier than Kawhi Leonard would have been. He fumbled it. He fumbled the bag. And now look, now the Clippers don't even want him anymore. Clippers have been trying to trade him, are probably more willing to let him walk than keep him, which tells you a lot, right? Like, it's one of those things. It's very, I would be shocked if the Lakers landed Paul George. Again, if it happens, I'll love it, right? Like, Paul George is an excellent player. Excellent. Even with all his question marks and concerns, excellent player. But I just think that there's just too many hurdles, too many obstacles in the way that it's not very likely. I think the Lakers, again, I don't even think the Lakers even bother trying to bark up that tree. I don't. I think the Lakers just kind of, hey, let them figure that out. We're going to go look for, again, somebody that helps now, but the future with Anthony Davis, where Paul George doesn't really do that, right? Paul George is a guy that he's not going to be around for 5, 6, 7 years, right? Where if you could get a guy like a Donovan Mitchell, he's a guy that, even after LeBron, you could still have 3, 4, 5 years. And him and Anthony Davis would be an excellent pairing. Or, a Trae Young, who, even though I'm not super sold on Trae, he's a guy 25 years old. You can have him for the next 10 years, right? And now you got, even after Anthony Davis, you still would have Trae Young, who's probably on the right side of 30 still, or maybe just slightly on the other side of 30, that you can kind of just get other pieces to build around, right? Like, that's what the Lakers are trying to do. The Lakers are trying to get somebody that, yes, raises the ceiling now, but also is more long-term foundation building block. The only way I see it happen is if the Clippers essentially just give Paul George away and they're like, we'd rather get a first than nothing, then maybe, but realistically, I don't see that being the case. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you think, there's absolutely no chance, absolutely no shot Paul George comes to the Lakers? Again, I never say never, right? But I'm like 99% sure Lakers don't sign Paul George, right? Unless he's willing to accept the mid-level exception. Right? I don't see that being the case. So more likely than not, he's done. Do you feel that same way? Or do you think, no, hey, Paul George, get Paul George. He can come to the Lakers. He can force away the Lakers. Would you even want Paul George, even if the Lakers had the opportunity to get him? Like I said, I would. Sign me up, Paul George. Paul George is excellent. He's exactly what we need out on the perimeter. I just don't think it's realistic. But again, how you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.